So we are live. Thank you everyone for showing up for this month's CAD Chats. We do this every last Thursday of each month. And it's just, two folks, two designers geeking out on, how we use CAD, whether that's Illustrator, whether that's Photoshop, whether that's 3D, whether that's other types of CAD programs within the fashion industry. So this month, I have the pleasure of welcoming Deborah Bux-Hurwitz, who I have been chatting with on LinkedIn for like ever. And then we
Yeah,
found out that we had a very good friend in common. And so I'm just waiting for us to meet in person.
bring
But
it.
great to it's great to finally like meet you virtually.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get right into it because we have 30 minutes. It always goes very fast. And we even before we started talking, we were like getting into lots of conversations. So I know
Mhm.
this is gonna be a great conversation. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and then tell us how you started in fashion.
First, I'm very excited to meet you as well. And I've been in the industry for God, dating myself now. I think I'm on my 23rd year. I got a job straight out of school. So I went to fashion school, got my bachelor's degree at Moore College of Art and Design. I'm originally from Philadelphia. That's where that school is based. They have a great fashion program there. And I got my first job like straight out of college, like 1 month. It was like, got it. And I started working at Urban Outfitters, which is one of the very few places in Philadelphia that actually has full, robust fashion brand portfolio of a corporation that you could work for there. So I worked there for 4.5 years, and then moved to jobs in New York. So I worked in New York for a bunch of years, working for brands like Original Penguin, Converse, John Varvatos. And then now I'm in Southern California. I'm actually literally like your backdrop is where I live, not far from here. So I'm like, you feel like you're in California and I'm in a shabby East Coast apartment. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm in Southern California now. I've been here for the last 10, this is gonna be my 10th year. It's crazy. Um, and I now work for a company called Ghost Golf. Just started there in February. They're a brand that makes bags and accessories primarily. So
Nice.
they hired me to start really pushing an apparel line for them. So stay tuned. It'll come out in 2026. But prior to that, I worked at Alo Yoga since I've been in California, an action sport brand called Ruka. So yeah, I've had a pretty diverse portfolio. I've done both men's, women's, kids wear, textile design. I have passions for all those things. But menswear has been primarily the majority of my career. So yeah, and it's what I'm currently doing right now.
And you teach also, right?
I teach also. So I started teaching. I think my teaching anniversary is coming up. I think I'm on 7 years this year, come
What?
fall.
Wow.
I teach at a local college, community college. I only started teaching when I moved out to California. So I wasn't able to do that when I was commuting between Philly and New York back east. That was a long commute. So, but I
Mm.
always wanted to teach. I remember being in college, fashion school and telling, our mutual friend and some other my friends that I still keep in touch with back then in our pattern making studio. I want to come back and be a teacher one day. I just need to get enough experience. But like once I do, I want to teach because I had some really good teachers and I had some ones that were not so good. And I kind of just looked at, oh, wait, I think I could explain this a little bit better where it's, a little bit more understandable. So I teach at night, 2 nights a week, just one class, usually, and it's usually an Adobe Illustrator class. So I teach both a level one intro class and a level two. And then most recently, the last year and a half, I've also been recently starting to teach Clo 3D as a more
Nice.
advanced level class. I almost consider it as like the level three class of the other two that I teach. So that's fairly new because I'm still learning the program myself, but it's definitely been a really great learning experience, not only for me to learn it through me having to teach it to other students.
Nice, nice. So my next question would be what digital software you use. So you've named Illustrator, you've named Clo. So of those, first of all, are there any others that you use? And then which would you consider your primary, the primary one that you use the most?
Hands down, Adobe Illustrator primary. For me, we've talked before offline, it's a one-stop shop. When it
Mhm.
comes to being a fashion designer, there's so many things that you can do in it that I have yet to meet another software that can do all the things that Adobe Illustrator can do for me.
Yeah.
So there's other things that other software I feel can do slightly better in terms of realism, in terms of the realistic type look of a garment. Illustrator doesn't give you that. That's a fact. But in terms of everything that I do on a daily basis as a designer, you're talking about concept boards.
Mhm.
I lay out all my concept boards in there at the top of the season. I do my color palettes in there. I do, my any kind of presentation boards like line sheets of all my designs. I do all my 2D CADs for the factory. I do all my recoloring. I do all my textile design because I do a lot of that as well, like in there. And that there's for me, the object pattern make tool in Adobe Illustrator, when they came out with that, I don't even know, maybe 10 plus years ago, it was a game changer to
Sure.
be able to do a
Yes.
repeat really easily. I have
Yes.
yet to meet a software that can do that as well. Put a pattern in the repeat and then also allow you to recolor it in the same program. And I also do my tech packs in there. So right now I'm not on a PLM system. My company doesn't have that. I have been in PLM, which is a system that larger companies usually use to do a full tech pack in. So I'm other if you're not in that type of company, usually you're working in either Excel or Adobe Illustrator for your design tech packs. So I'm in Illustrator for my tech packs as well. So pretty much my A to Z of everything that we do as a designer can be done in Illustrator. The only
Yep.
problem is now those CADs do not look realistic. So now there's this new expectation in the last several years to make them look photorealistic. And
Hmm.
the results are amazing. I do not deny that. And Illustrator cannot do that yet. But so therefore, I've been starting to more recently dabble into it because the expectations of seeing design work like that is becoming more and more. And recent year or two, I've been dabbling in not only Clo 3D, but for I'll be honest, it takes a lot longer and there's a huge learning curve there that I can't possibly produce the same amount of quality of work in the small time frames that we work in, our tight timelines, using a program like that. And the people I've talked to that I do know that have that built into their infrastructure of their company that they work for usually have a separate 3D CAD team specifically
Yep.
because it takes so much longer
Yeah.
to produce the same level of work. I mean, if you're just sketching, I'm sketching like 30, 40 designs a season, or 30, 40 designs for spring, for instance, or another 50, come fall. There's no way I can do that through Clo and still
Yeah.
make my deadlines. Sometimes my deadlines are in a couple weeks and I have to push them out. So there's just no way. It's too labor intensive.
Mhm.
So therefore, in order for me to get those 3D realistic type looks, I've been trying to lean a little bit more on the AI softwares that are out there. So the artificial intelligence software, some things that I've been dabbling a little bit in newarc.ai, viscom.ai right now for me is winning out of all the ones that I've tried. I did,
Really?
yeah, right now it seems to be winning. I've been getting better, more realistic results in Viscom than I was in Newark.
I
Newark
have
was really
got to go
great.
back to that because last time I tried Viscom, I was like, eh.
Really? So
Yeah.
Newark, I dabbled in for a little while. That was my first AI program that I played with. And that
Hmm.
one, I took more fashion illustrations in there to kind of see what
Hmm.
they would do. And I think the fashion illustration AI rendering was great, but then I also noticed there were certain limitations to the way it was interpreting my garment sketch.
Hmm.
So it would put a cool looking model on it, and then but the garment would be all wrong. It would be colored differently, or it would add like color blocking aspects to it because it interpreted a seam line that I had in my sketch wrong.
Hmm.
There was something that was just not right. It was never a perfect match. And I know AI, so we can't expect artificial intelligence to be perfect yet.
Right.
When I took my 2D sketches into Viscom, and I've done this more recently with the job I have now, I was getting way better results. Like I'm like, man, some of the sketches I was taking in from Illustrator were I put them in the Viscom, and I'm like, within seconds, it was literally looking like it replicated the same exact sketch.
Wow.
With some minor tweaks, but not as much as I had to mess with in Newark to try and get it right. And even when I tried to mess with it for a while, it still wasn't interpreting it perfect. Pattern CADs I found are a little bit trickier. I want to revisit Newark for that because I know they've been working on their, I forget what they call it, their pattern tool that
Yeah.
matches. I know they've been working on it. I've seen a lot more advertisements in the last few months about them
Hmm.
improving that tool. I don't know that Viscom is as good in pattern filled CADs, but I have had some good results. But I've noticed that in Viscom, the key to that for me is having one layer that's the 2D sketch and another layer is the 3D generate. And sometimes I use opacity numbers, like lessen the opacity to let the 2D CAD bleed through the 3D CAD a little bit. And that those
Interesting.
things allowed me to get a little bit more accuracy.
Interesting. Interesting. Have you ever heard of Fermat?
No. See, there's so many. I can't keep up.
I know, I know.
There's so many.
Yeah, the one that I use the most is Style Builder from Make the Dot.
Yep.
But I've been thinking about trying Fermat just because I've gotten things just randomly advertisements, I guess they got some cookies or something.
Yeah.
But like it just keeps coming up and I'm like, huh, let me try it.
Yeah.
But I will say that the module that you're talking about, the sketch to render in AI,
Hmm.
I feel like has been the most useful for any designer because like generating illustrations and that kind of thing, like that's fun, that's great. But I'm
Yeah.
like, what are we doing here? You know?
We don't use the illustrations as much in your day-to-day
No,
job. It's a portfolio
no.
thing. I still add them to my portfolio, but on our
Mhm.
day-to-day job, the factories don't want your illustrations. They want your flat
Right.
CADs.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm always like, if you're gonna build an AI tool and you're gonna spend that much time, then build it, address something that is actually a pain point. I
Yes.
don't feel like generating more pretty pictures is actually a pain point, but that's
Yeah.
a whole nother conversation that I could spend lots of time on, and we don't have that kind of
Yes.
time. So anyway, so we talked about you use other forms of software. Do you use anything like a Procreate or I mean, I guess that would be like, do you do any like digital freehand sketching?
So I do not sketch on an iPad, and I know Procreate is strictly an iPad only program.
Hmm.
So I have seen some people, even students of mine, that sketch and Procreate with some amazing results, and that's great. I have
Yeah,
yet to do
same.
that. I still hand sketch. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna take it
Nice.
old school. I still hand sketch. I get that idea out of my brain on paper every single time because if I don't get it on paper right away, I will forget it, and that's just the
Hmm.
reality, right? So
Yeah.
I still stress that as a key skill. And I'm not trying to say I'm the most amazing sketcher. I will never pretend that I am, but it doesn't matter because for me, it's just literally getting an idea out so that I have it flushed out, at least on paper, so that right now it's like it lives somewhere outside of my head. Therefore, I can marinate on it for extra, a little bit to look at the pencil sketch that I did before I even take it into the computer and render it. Like, do I feel good about how, do I want to tweak it? If I want to tweak it, I can quickly just erase something on the pencil sketch and be like, oh, what does it look like with this type of sleeve? And work through those things first because to take it in a computer, we all know takes a little bit longer to do. And for me,
Right.
taking in a computer is like creating perfection CAD.
Right. Right.
I'm still
Right.
troubleshooting the idea for myself. So for me, I need to troubleshoot on paper. And it'd be great for me to have the iPad and try and troubleshoot on the iPad. I just haven't done that yet as part of my designing because I think the iPad, any kind of software you use, whether it's Adobe Illustrator on iPad or Procreate on iPad, could do the same thing that a pencil paper sketch could do in terms of your work in progress thought process. But starting out with that, whatever form of a hand sketch, whether it's a digital or literal hand sketch, I think is so important as a
Agree.
designer to really get the idea fleshed out first before you take it into the computer. It's just a better, for me, I feel like a more efficient way to work. It saves time because you're really thinking through the details up front. And then you take it in computer. And I take it in computer sometimes, and I'm still tweaking a little bit more, but most of the idea was already fleshed out on paper for me. So for me,
Yeah.
it's just like minor tweaks when I'm getting it into computer
Yeah.
that I'll
Like just
do at the
perfecting
end.
it. Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
already have the idea in my head on paper. And now I'm just like, okay, cool. I just need to copy it into a digital format. So that's been my workflow. And then from there, creating everything with a 2D CAD still, because the factory still wants that. And that's just a fact. They still
Yep.
want the 2D CADs in your tech packs. They want them as simple as possible. I add shadow effects sometimes to make them look more realistic, but sometimes that gets confusing to the factory. So I have to take them off.
Mm-hmm.
Fabric motion lines sometimes, all those things that help to make a 2D CAD look more realistic. To a factory, they're just like, oh my God, give it to me simple. So therefore, I'll use that more simplified sketch and I'll actually take that into an AI, artificial intelligence software like a Viscom, because that program, any AI program you go into, if you take a CAD in with like shadow effects or too many fabric motion lines, I've noticed the
Mm-hmm.
results in AI, they don't produce well. So I've had to take that more
Yeah.
simplified sketch and they actually produce the 3D render much better when you simplify the sketch going in.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I wasn't expecting that, but you're right. And actually, I'm going to share some of your work. The first thing is actually what you're talking about,
Yep.
which is so this is your 2D CAD, and
Yep.
then this is the Viscom, which I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah,
that
that
wasn't the
one, that,
result I was getting.
yeah,
It's
you
so
know
much
what? So
nicer.
the only thing that I remember about this, because these ones are more recent ones that I've done for my job now.
Hmm.
I have a vivid memory of these, that the first one that you're looking at, the only thing it didn't quite understand was the collar. So this is called a Johnny collar neck. It doesn't have any buttons on it. At first it
Hmm.
tried to put a button on it. I'm like, no, no. So I had to use, there's like a little magic eraser tool in there where I had to get rid of that. And that works very similar to the one in Newark.
Hmm.
After I did like one or two tweaks, it got it like that. But here just to say, this 2D sketch in Adobe Illustrator, this had shadow effects like on it. It had a little bit of fabric motion lines under the armhole. I kept
Hmm.
one little fabric motion line on the side of the garment. It had a lot more in to start when I was doing a 2D presentation. I had to take all that off to get the 3D render to work. So I had to
Wow.
simplify that sketch much more. Sometimes
Yeah.
I even had to take rib lines out of my collars because it didn't quite understand what I was doing there when it was a three AI software.
I've had to do that before too. Like it was just a hot mess.
Yeah.
But then once I took it out, it was like, oh, that
Yeah.
looks great now.
So there's trial and error for sure. And like this was a 2D, this is when I attempted to do something with pattern. This took a lot longer
Hmm.
to get right. Um, and then yeah, so there was some, but I mean, it actually came pretty darn close in some
Yeah, it looks
aspects.
good.
And
Yeah.
then the last one, I didn't have the 2D sketch with me at any point, but I this one I was most impressed with. My 2D sketch looked pretty darn close to this 3D render. This one took me a little bit more time to kind of get right.
Hmm.
But the 3D renders looked pretty realistic. I was pretty impressed
Yeah, this looks
with the
good.
results of this particular so this is right now, this is my AI generating tool that I'm playing it in the most right now.
Yeah, I've got to get back to Viscom because I'm missing something. We'll have to have a little tutoring session because I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
missing, but I'm doing it wrong, obviously.
Yeah, and then this I just brought together because I'm just want to stress, like, I'm still doing concept boards in Illustrator.
Hmm.
I know there's other programs. I don't need an AI software for me personally for that. I need an AI software to help me generate more realistic photorealistic CADs. That's what
Hmm.
I would look into an AI software to do, because Illustrator, I still feel like it's easy to bring pictures in, it's easy to build a color palette, it's easy to do a layout, presentation layout, all that stuff is just, for me, Illustrator's still top of the game when it comes to building out presentation boards.
Yeah, yeah. And then did you draw these in Illustrator?
So this I did all in Illustrator, 100%. The board
Wow.
layout as well as the illustrations. So the illustrations I start off, I have templates. I mean, I'm at the point where I just have templates of bodies poses that I use over and over again. I just change their hair, change their skin color, change their accessories, and I just all of a sudden it could look like a totally different person from one season to the next, depend on what I put on them. But I have a bunch of templates of women in different style poses that are like, I call them like naked body figures. They're
Hmm.
just just the figure in a certain pose, and I just dress them. But this is all Illustrator.
Nice. Very cool. Also Illustrator?
So yeah, so I have a big passion, almost equal to my love of fashion designing is textile design. I love it. I've loved it since fashion college. I was a textile design minor, fashion design major, and I just love making patterns, art for clothing, and make thinking about the fabric and how the pattern executes on fabric. So yes, I still try and do that with whatever company that I work for will allow me to add that to the
Hmm.
mix of my skills. Sometimes I might have a textile designer on staff, sometimes I don't. I work for smaller companies where I have to do it myself. So yes, this was 100% done in Illustrator. I had a gray heather, file that I had I have that I easily can recolor. It's a vector file. It has a heathered look. And
Hmm.
then I did a twill plaid over top of it. So it's two layers. It's a heather layer of gray, and then the red, blue, navy blue, and the teal blue plaid twill over top of it. And then that's my
Nice.
body CAD
It looks
with
really
the render.
good.
Thank you.
And this also done in Illustrator.
100% in Illustrator. And this was a complicated one. I made it look like a patchwork, obviously, like kind of bohemian kind of vibe patchwork print. But yeah, it's all done in Illustrator, and I just did little sections. Each square is its own, like, design motif, and then I collaged them together using my favorite tool in Illustrator, Object Pattern Make, and I collaged it all together. And yeah, and I did this for a freelance project that I worked on a couple years ago.
Nice,
It
nice.
was a women's print. And this was my attempt at doing some things with Newark. Like I said, I started off with Newark as my first AI tool. And
Hmm.
this is an Illustrator sketch on the left that I did years ago for a portfolio collection piece. And I was teaching my students a little bit about Newark for the first time, this most recent semester. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that, have them do a mini project of a before and after. Take something from your prior work that you've done and throw it through newark.ai and see what happens. And I had them do the same side by side thing. I had them take a flat CAD that they've done before and do the AI generation. I had them do a fashion illustration before and after as well. And I use these as visual examples to show them what the project would look like. And this was something I took of a 2D CAD, and
Hmm.
this is my 3D render. You can see that the print on the tropical shirt and even the striped shirt is not exactly the same.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's where I struggle with the AI tools right now, is like, because
Hmm.
a lot of times I have a lot of textile design heavy product, and I
Yeah.
just don't think they're capturing it yet perfectly.
Yeah, I don't either. And then I'm gonna stop this and then go over to your video. But
Yeah.
I feel like I prefer to render it just in black and white. And then I
Hmm.
usually will like take it into like Photoshop or something and color it with my actual colors and actual prints. Because same thing, it's like anytime I put it through where it's already colored, it just changes it too much. And I'm like, I didn't ask for all this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't have the workflow step by step figured out on how to get an AI generator to capture those textile designs perfectly yet.
Yeah,
But I'm getting some
they might
results.
not be there. They might not be there yet, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
And then this I love.
Oh, Clo. Yeah. So again, I'm only using Clo right now, mainly in my education career.
Mm,
I have yet to find a way to incorporate it into my daily workflow as a designer. It's an amazing, amazing, robust program, and it can do
mm,
so many things, um, including making everything so realistic that you're like, what? This is crazy. The way the fabric drapes, it adds shadow effects instantly for you
yeah.
already. It replicates the drape of a fabric instantly. Um, the realism that's in it is so incredible. It's just the time. It's the time that it takes to do it.
Yeah.
I can't figure out a way to clone myself so that I can that that version of Debbie do this for the line that I need to produce every season. I'm like, I
Right.
need a clone. I need like two clones. I need one
Yeah.
to like handle the design work that I do and like all this lab dip submits and all the things that come in for the factory you do on a daily basis, the
Right.
factory emails, the meetings. Then I need another Deb to just be like an AI generator to like play and have fun generating all my CADs in 3D, or somebody that does like a CLO and can literally take it to the full fruition of a true accurate 100% accurate CAD. So the great thing about like a CLO or a browser, the accuracy is spot on.
Right.
The AI generators, they're not spot on. It's
Yeah.
kind of a little bit of a compromise that happens there, but it's
Yeah.
quick. It's way quicker.
But I'm glad you're
Um,
talking about this because I think for a lot of people, they sort of feel like, why don't you just use blah, blah, blah? Why don't you just use blah, blah, blah? And I don't think that enough people really understand just how much of a designer's job really is design, purely
mhm.
design, and how much more of our job is all the other stuff. The lab
Oh
dips,
yeah,
the updating line sheets, the updating the CADs, the going to the fittings,
totally.
recoloring the CADs, all the tech packs, the follow up on the tech packs, just
Hmm.
following up with the vendors, answering the email. Like it's never ending. And then
No,
like to drop yet another thing into your task list, no matter how people feel like, oh, this is fun. Yeah, but you know what? Like because it's one more thing, it's almost like it's not even fun anymore. It's just one more thing I gotta do. You can't even
yeah.
have fun with it.
There was one day I remember this, and it was like one of the most fun days I had at work. I literally just spent almost the whole day taking some 2D CADs into Viscom.ai, and I was playing and playing, playing, and I was getting so excited, like a little kid, like learning something new. And I'm like, oh my God, these results. And like, I'm calling my coworkers over, like, oh my God, look at it, what happened. And they're like, wow. And it was so fun. I literally haven't yet to be able to have a day where I can literally just spend doing that, because
Yeah.
now it's just that's just not the reality. I wish I could even have a day to just design nonstop all day. There's
Girl,
never
all
a
of
day like
us.
that.
All of
Never.
us
It's
feel like
always
that.
compartmentalizing your workflow. It's like, there's always more things in the day that occupy your time than just design. Even
Hmm.
troubleshooting factory emails, there's questions that come back, and it's like, oh my God, they don't know how to do this, or they're asking about that. Well, that can eat up like 2 hours out of my day just trying to figure out how to answer these emails.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wish that there could be just a day where I could just spend designing all day long. It never happens. And that's
Yeah.
just the reality of the industry. So it is a constant balancing act, right? So now you're adding this other expectation into a designer's role is, I want something that looks 3D realism to show my buyers. Okay, great. I do too. But what am I going to
Right.
give up to give you that? I need to figure that out. If you don't have an assistant, or if your teams are really small, it's just trying to figure out how to do it all in the time frame that you have. So the thing that I found out is a lot of companies are having separate teams
Hmm.
dedicated to 3D,
Yep.
because that's what you need. I mean, that's just the reality. One person can't do it all. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not enough time in the day.
Yeah.
So these AI tools are great because they are a lot quicker, but like the 3D tools like Browser and CLO, I mean, they can't be beat in terms of the accuracy being spot on. It's just, they just take time. And
Yeah.
it doesn't allow that for a designer to have that kind of time in our existing design calendars right now to be able to do a whole entire line. Even if I was an expert, I still don't know if I would be able to churn it out that quick, because there's the 2D component and the 3D component. And if your 2D component of the flat patterns that are in CLO, you try and digitally sew it on the avatar, if you mess up in any way, it will just reject it. And that's the kind of stuff you don't have to think about at all in a 2D program. You don't
Yeah.
have to think about how
Very
the 2D
true.
flat pattern fits. And that's what's great about that program. It really does exercise those accurate skills. And it really helps like a technical designer. I've actually learned more that technical designers are starting to be more expected to learn 3D than apparel designers are,
Right.
because it's
Right.
much more in their wheelhouse as a technical designer, because it's so pattern making heavy.
I'm going to ask you one more question and
Yeah.
then we're going to wrap up because we're out of
Okay.
time
Oh my God,
and we're about
sure.
to get cut off. But I know it goes so fast, right?
It does.
Mouse, stylus, or trackpad?
Stylus, pen and Wacom tablet, 100% for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that is all. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me. Short, but it went by so fast.
I know it always does. It always does. Everybody says that. But thank you everyone for attending, and we will be back next month to